Hello there, listeners, wherever you are in the big wide world, and welcome to the Life in a Warzone podcast. Today is April 9th, beginning of a new moon. Start to rise today. I was thinking it's a good day to start something new. And my name is Maya, or Maayan, if you want. I'm 30 years old. I'm living in Klil, in northern Israel, I think about 8 kilometers from the Lebanon border. Um, I'm living in a big tent, uh, and except doing this podcast, I'm also a student in the Open University of Israel, and I have like a group of children that I'm taking to hikes in nature. That's what I do for a living. I like it a lot. Except that I'm meditating and I'm playing music. Maybe later on in the podcast I will play some guitar and stuff. Um, but yeah, this podcast is to speak about my experience and other people experience. Also, sometimes I will have guests, I suppose. The experience of people living in a place that is a war zone, basically. By war zone, reference both specifically northern Israel that being attacked by missiles from Lebanon for the last 6 months, and both generally Israel, which is uh, basically it's a continuous war zone. It's being continually being a war zone basically since 1948 generally. So I'm gonna speak about my experience and some of my friends' experience, and also sometimes just general news stuff, and I will bring my interpretations and opinions and sharing, of course. Um, yeah, maybe in order to get like a good starting point, mostly for the listeners that are from outside of Israel, because this podcast is uh, relevant and it's for everyone all around the world. Um, so I think in order to get a good starting point, I can start with telling the story about how do I see the reasons that things went that bad as they are now, because things are quite shitty for the last 6 months. Yeah, or it was shitty before also, but since October 7, it's been extremely shitty. So yeah, instead of just landing directly in present, maybe we can go back a little bit and tell the story about how things went that bad. So yeah, so a story is a good title for that, because in my perspective, nothing but the personal present um, um, experience of sense is isn't reality. Okay, so reality for me is my own personal present sense experience. Except that everything else that I know or believe is stories. It's something that I heard from someone else or from somewhere, or something that I have in my memory. I study some psychology in my degree, and I learned how untrustable is the human memory. It's really not very trustable. Um, and stories are, people telling stuff that they remember, and sometimes they doing mistakes, and sometimes they just lie, and sometimes they give their own angles on stuff and making them like twisting the story all up. So those are stories. Okay, I heard the stories. I heard them in my university study, in my school study. Some stuff are just like common knowledge in Israel. Sometimes some stuff will be my own personal memories or stuff that I heard from my grandmother. Stories. Okay, so I will try to tell mostly the stories that I believe, that I see the sense in them, that I feel that are right, that are make sense to me. Okay, so I am trying to build up the stories as I see, as I believe it happened, but I am aware that it's stories, and it's just important to me to say that before we start, um, because I'm gonna discuss lots of stories in this podcast. So how did things went all that shitty? Because basically, as I see that the entire existence is one, united, connected. Everything that is exists in this world is connected with everything else, and harmony is within and above all. So how could it be that there is such terrible, cruel, horrifying war going on? It seems very disharmonized. Um, so you look at animals in nature; they don't do those stuff. They do fight sometimes. They do hunt, but they do not. I don't know, like um, starving each other to death or brutally group raping or put babies in oven and cook them or just un um, without just butchering like massive groups of neighbor animals or something. They don't do that. So so I think the reason to why things are that bad will have to do something with the human psychology. So, and as far as like I believe that the human psychology um, is coming from the world of nature. You see, I see humans as a part of nature and rising up through evolution from the general animal world. But humans are different because they doing like terrible, horrible stuff that no other animal doing anything like. Um, so I think there is something messed up with human psychology, and I really digged in that, um, and I believe that the thing that is, after thinking and investigating and observing humans for quite a long time, I think the most basic fucked up thing that I can identify is the idea of separation. The idea that I is separate from the rest, that that there is the world and there is me, and I am in the world, but I'm not like a part of the world. It's like me separate in the world. Um, yeah, and that lead people to believe that they can have their own benefit um, in to have your own benefit um, against the benefit of the other. Okay, like you can hurt people or hurt stuff around you to get benefit out of them, and it will be good for you because they are not you. You see, because if you see everything as one, so I am you, so if I hurt you, I hurt I, right? But if I am I and you are you, so I can hurt you and maybe even have benefit from the I out of that. So that's the first mistake as I see that, the idea of separation. Now, where does it lead people to? It's lead people to believe that they can have power over stuff, or they can own things. Okay, so now I can use another aspect of the world for my own benefit, abuse it. See, and I can own it. So owning meaning that I have the right to do whatever I want with this thing or with that person. Okay, to use this energy. I have the right to use something. This means I own it. So first, you own the first, I think, thing. I believe, I guess, yeah, that the first thing that people decide that they own is the closest thing that they can have to themselves, is their children. So if you own your children, so you can tell them what to do, and that leads us to a whole complete discussion about bad education, bad education methods, bad education systems, coming out of the perspective of the adults or the parents own the children. And yeah, that's, I think, when you own your children, so maybe if you're old enough, you can own your children's children, and in this way you develop a hierarchy, patriarchalic system. And then you can tell people, go and kill all the people in the other village and bring me all their food and stuff like this. You can send your people, the people that you own under your hierarchy power, you can send them to do stuff for you, and to do like stupid stuff, like go and fight a war, and to put themselves in a risk. You can see that very clearly in Israel nowadays. There is like a bunch of really old people in the government sending a bunch of teenagers to die in the war, basically. Very simple. The old people own the young people, because the old people think that they're separate, and they can get their own benefit upon the benefit of the young people, so they can abuse them, so they can own them. Okay. Now the second messed up owning thing, except like, just general property and object, and it's all make you all messed up, is owning your partner. Okay, so in this point I believe that specifically men, and I think here we have some problem not just with human psychology, but with men, male psychology, thinking that if the woman that I am with is delivering my children, the children that I own, so I'm basically using her body to create my children. So think this, the man, I own the woman, I own my partner, so I can tell my partner what to do and what not to do, and how to behave and how not to behave, and I basically control her whole behavior. You can see it. Go to your, I don't know, local or neighbor traditional patriarchalic society, and you can see that the men own the woman. If you can look at traditional ceremonies of wedding, it's the ceremony of buying the woman, owning her, getting control over her, sometimes I'm missing word in English, sorry. Getting control over her system of delivering babies. Okay, and in this way we get out of control with population, because I think women have the ability to be aware and be aware of the situation of where we're living, how much food we have, and decided about the size of the family, decided how many children does she want to have, and when the man take power over the all having children thing, they just say like, oh, we want as many children as we can, because in this way basically you have slave in traditional societies. Yeah. In order to pass the episode through my email into the podcast, I'm gonna have to make them short. So we're gonna make part 2 of that. Part 2 is coming up.